Okay, so this is going to be my review of Godzilla, Rulers of Earth, Volume 1. Now, yes, I do have the second volume as well. I don't have the third volume, and the fourth volume hasn't been released as of this recording. Yeah. Now, Godzilla, Rulers of Earth is a comic I've only read, like, little web posts of, or, like, when I see a back issue in the comic book store. But now I officially have the 2 volumes, which collectively they have issues 1 through 8. So I am very much, right off the bat I can say I'm very much pleased as a Godzilla fan. This was clearly a comic book written for Godzilla fans by Godzilla fans, but yet I feel like it can be easily accessed to as well. This series, I'm going to just talk about Volume 1. I'm going to spoil some stuff too, but hopefully not too major. This series is more about and yes, it is set as a sequel after the events of Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters, which was complete shit, and the Dwayne Trzcinski Godzilla series, and that one's okay, I've heard. I haven't read that one, but I've heard that one's a lot better than Kingdom of Monsters, but still the artwork is bad and the writing is just meh. This one, however, has great artwork and, a great writer, Chris Mowry, who I feel like he understands Godzilla and all the other kaiju. And this is where we really get to see all the other Toho monsters that have never been in the Godzilla movies, but yet they finally come together. I mean, yes, in Volume 3, yes, there is a fight between Godzilla and the Gargantuas, Gyra, and Sanda. Again, I don't have that, but my buddy Bill Zazubar has that issue, and he's told me that that's one of the greatest things ever. Not to mention, there's another epic moment in Volume 3 from another character, which I'll talk about further when I get to Volume 2. But yes, this series is... And also, here's another good thing about Rulers of Earth. If you're wondering, do I have to read Godzilla, and, do I have to read the Kingdom of Monsters and then the Godzilla series? No, you don't. I feel you can pretty much read this and get the gist of Kingdom of Monsters and the other series, and still be able to, grasp this, be able to grasp this comic book on a whole. So the series starts out with a character named Lucy who is learning to become a megazoologist. And the world is kind of, after, some major monster attacks, after living among kaiju, the world is kind of like, well, what the hell do we do now? I mean, we can't kill these things, we don't know how to stop them, so the best way we can do is just study them and, try to contain them and live among them. That's really all we can do, when living among these giant monsters. That's all we can really do at this point, is just contain them. So yes, they are building up to Monster Island, in a way. And this series is dealing with all new kaiju that are showing up around the world, and they kind of reveal that they kind of allude to why certain monsters are coming out in waves. In Kingdom of Monsters, it had a majority of them as the land monsters. Then in the Dwayne Trzcinski series, it was the space monsters. Now a majority of the new monsters are coming from the sea. And that's really cool. I like how they kind of set that up. And I know it's explained a little further in the later volumes, but I'll go into that when I get to Volume 3. Anyway, so with this, we have Lucy, who is training to be a member of this kaiju group, who are here to study the kaiju. And while this is going on, her seminar in Hawaii is attacked by Zilla. Yes, Zilla makes his comic book appearance in this series, and for what it's worth, it's actually pretty cool. Now, let me back up, saying, oh wait, the American Godzilla you think it's cool? What? You're not a Godzilla fan? Let me explain. Godzilla doesn't really show up until the end of the first issue, but if you're a fan of Godzilla, you really appreciate it when, at least in Godzilla movies, when Godzilla's not around, he's being talked about. Hell, the only fight you see in the first issue is not even Godzilla fighting. It's really, the fight you see in there is a fight between Gigan and Kumonga in the Grand Canyon, and it's kind of awesome. So, let's talk about the fight between Godzilla and Zilla, which is in the entire second issue. Those two really beat the shit out of each other. And I love Matt Frank's artwork. It just does the kaiju so much justice in this series. It just makes it really accentuates some of the like facial expressions, and it really shows that these monsters are very much thinking animals. That's what I really like about this, because Chris Mallory and Matt Frank make Godzilla they tell you, hey, Godzilla's not some big dumb radioactive lizard. He's a thinking animal. He is capable of thought, and he's actually very intelligent. Like, they kind of allude to, Godzilla is probably one of the smart, if not the smartest kaiju on the planet. And they don't really know how to... He's not capable of speech, mind you, that'd be stupid. And Toho said, IDW, don't you fucking do that, or kill any of the monsters. But they did say, Godzilla has a very much a stronger brain, has a lot more brain power than the other monsters, than a majority of the other monsters. And he really utilizes it in here. However, Zilla does the same thing. So let's talk about Zilla for a second. Zilla in here, yes, he sucked as Godzilla. He was absolutely terrible. However, this comic book series, Chris Mallory and Matt Frank were like, look, we get it. He is a terrible-ass kaiju. He's a terrible-ass Godzilla. But allow us to show you why he works better as his own, why he would work better as his own kaiju. And they show it. They show that Zilla works better, it can work better when he's not Godzilla, when you don't call him Godzilla, when you just make him his own thing, like he should have been in the movie. Again, I feel like we'd have all been a lot nicer to Zilla. I mean, yeah, he had no right to be called Godzilla, but I think we'd all have been a lot nicer to this monster if he was, not called Godzilla. Hence why Toho bought the rights to him, called him Zilla, and had him killed horribly in Final Wars. And that's kind of funny, because there's between the fight between Godzilla and Zilla, it actually starts out with starting out like Final Wars, where Godzilla throws him into a building, uses his atomic breath, roars, is like, the fight's over. Nope. You see, Mallory and Frank use what made Zilla stupid and made it cool. The whole thing of Zilla burrowing underground, using his claws, he does that to evade Godzilla. Zilla is clearly physically weaker than Godzilla himself, but he's a lot more agile, he's a lot quicker, and he's kind of thinking outside the box here, and Godzilla is a lot slower than Zilla. He's very much, Zilla is a lot quicker, and his claws can actually dig into Godzilla's flesh. And like I said, the fight between Godzilla and Zilla is just awesome. They really show that, when these two fight, it's a damn cool fight. Among other things, we also have this character named Stephen Woods, who showed up in Kingdom of Monsters, and now he's part of a kaiju control squad. And yeah, they discover after the fight with Zilla, Godzilla and Zilla, they find this little piece of a crustacean, which is revealed to be part of a little piece of destroyer, little micro oxygen destroyers. And this is where we're introduced to the two alien races in Rulers of Earth. The Cryogs and the Devonians, who are pretty much... The Cryogs and Devonians, since apparently the IDW was not allowed to use any alien races, I don't know, they clearly, even though they clearly used the Simians and Miki Sagusa in the Titanosaurus one-shot they did a year or so back, I don't know how they got away with that. The Cryogs and the Devonians are pretty much their response to not being able to use the Simians or the Cetopians. Because the Devonians are these aquatic alien race, and the Cryogs are a group of shape-shifting aliens. Doesn't that sound familiar in Godzilla lore? Just a bit? Yeah. So yeah, clearly the Cryogs and Devonians are the alien races that are used, and they're both kind of competing in some way to gain access to the planet. Between the two races are kind of bidding for control over the planet, and they're very much so like, yeah, we really want we want this planet. And Godzilla is the wild card. Both races are clearly interested in Godzilla because, unlike the other kaiju, he is a mystery. He's something that is just a complete X factor in everyone's plans, and he is the major threat to everything. So what do? They bring together, Destroya, who the little microbes, I guess you can call them, slaughter their way through a convention, which leads to almost like, again, in the first Godzilla vs. Destroya with the squad teams fighting their way against those creatures. It's really cool. It's a really cool scene, and it even leads to another scene of the Cryogs and Devonians having a strike on a carrier with their mind-controlled monsters, Manda and Gazora. Yes, Gazora is here. Manda and Gazora attack a fleet, not a fleet, not even helicarrier, just an aircraft carrier, and does not do well for the American fleet. However, this attracts the attention of Godzilla, who is then attacked by Destroya, and is left kind of bleeding out in Malibu. However, this is the point where Godzilla shows his true intelligence, and this is what was really cool. Godzilla. Wow, now that I think about it, I am kind of spoiling a lot. I've just realized throughout this comic book, I've kind of spoiled a few things. So, you know what? The comic's been out a while. I'll just go ahead and spoil it from then on, so sorry, guys. Anyway, so the fight between Destroya and Godzilla kind of rages on. Destroya has clearly got the upper hand because Godzilla's weakened. However, this is when Godzilla gets backup from Mothra. Yeah, Mothra and Godzilla team up. Throughout this ongoing series of Godzilla in IDW, Mothra and Godzilla are pretty much they're the Superman-Batman relationship in here. The two have teamed up in the past before, and are more or less like uneasy allies between the two. There's an uneasy alliance between Godzilla and Mothra. And throughout the story, we also get the arrival of the larva, who also help to battle Destroya. And while Destroya is, while he is occupied with both Mothra and her children, Godzilla reveals that he stole a nuclear reactor from the wreckage of the aircraft carrier and used it to heal himself, so he could get fully charged and fight Destroya. And there's also a hilarious scene at the end of the story where Godzilla's preparing to leave, and Mothra and her babies are about to leave, and one of the larvae is about to bite Godzilla's tail, like in every Godzilla and Mothra movie, where you see the larva just bite the end of Godzilla's tail, and the Mothra larvae is about to do it. He's about to bite Godzilla's tail. Godzilla just whirls around and gives him this look of, don't you fucking do it. And the Mothra larvae backs off and helps the other one carry their mother back to Infant Island, while Godzilla just is like, whatever, I'm out. Yeah. And it's really cool. Again, this is a Godzilla series written by Godzilla fans for Godzilla fans, and the artwork is just amazing, and the fights in here are really great. I love the fight between Godzilla and Zilla, and the other fight between, Godzilla and Mothra fighting Destroya was just another great piece of action in here as well. And again, the story is really cool too, but the thing, if I was to really nitpick at this comic book, it would be that the human stuff is really just, okay, we gotta just overlook these little moments. Oh, aliens, okay, whatever. We gotta get back because Godzilla's about to fight Destroya and Mothra's gonna help out. Okay, bye. It really kind of fast-forwards through some of the human scenes, but the human scenes are worth it because they really kind of really just help the storyline along. And everyone's just kind of curious about what to do with Godzilla, especially. A lot of the monsters in here are mentioned, and even though you don't see every single monster in the first 4 issues, the monsters you do see, however, it's really awesome to see the monsters you do see show up in here, and they just whip a lot of ass. So, I highly recommend this comic book as a Godzilla fan. You should really get this and the other volumes. And I will be reviewing Volume 2 soon, which I cannot wait because it involves a certain giant robot man who we should all know from a certain Godzilla film in the Showa era, showing up and being completely badass. Also, we get a mention of another Toho monster that is part of the Godzilla universe, but never met Godzilla in a fight. So, all in all, again, if you have not read this series, I highly recommend it. It is a very well put together series. The action here is very well done. Matt Frank's artwork is stunning. I love how he writes not only just the kaiju, just like the kaiju expressions. Like, he really gives them very human aspect facial expressions. Like when Mothra's baby is about to bite the tail, Godzilla's just like, "Don't do it." And again, even though the human stuff is kind of blown over, it does serve its purpose, and I think that this is a series worth getting. I think this is a series worth getting in trade or as an ongoing. I really just cannot recommend it enough. And yeah, they really do build up to a lot of things in here. They build up for what's to come in the later volumes, like again, Gigan getting certain upgrades to become a little more stronger, like he did in Final Wars, and we get a few mentions of other kaiju that hadn't been in the previous series in the IDW comics, and then finally make their appearance here. Again, this is just a lot of great stuff. It even makes Zilla cool. Yeah, this stuff really makes Zilla cool, and his fight with Godzilla is just completely epic. But yeah, once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I know this is kind of a long review, but I really just wanted to talk about this. So once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.